What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more AmITheButtHole. And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that subscribe button today? And I just want to say some thank yous before we get into today's story from Army of Freaks for the rejoin, Nordarts for the rejoin, Jamie for the join, Flesh Rebellion for the rejoin, and Crispy Panda 007 for the join as well. And thank you so much to everyone for spending 20 to 30 minutes of your time with me today, getting involved. It means the absolute world to me. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And I spotted the title of this story this morning. I thought, oh, I gotta have me a piece of that. From next to HOA, titled, Am I the Arsehole for Not Being in an HOA? I inherited a house a few years ago, after the passing of my grandfather. The timing was perfect as I just graduated and it wasn't far from the area where I wanted to work. About 2 to 3 years ago, a development company bought a bunch of surrounding property to build a semi-gated community. The fence for the community ends a good few yards away from my property, but isn't closed all the way. Now that people have moved in, I've been getting HOA letters about fees, my lawn and my house paint. I tried emailing the HOA president, but they never got back to me. I crashed the last meeting they had and explained that my house wasn't part of the neighbourhood and therefore not part of the HOA. The president and board members tried to say that it was because of how close my property is. It isn't, and I have documentation from the development company and the county saying it isn't. After the meeting, the president emailed back and said that regardless of the particulars, I should still try to conform to the rest of the community because I was bringing the property values down. I know that I was very lucky in getting my home and I don't want to negatively affect others, especially considering the current market. Am I the arsehole for not listening to the HOA? You know, I love it when we get stories about HOAs, mainly because they always seem to be like on the crazy side. And I know people have told me in the past, you know, not all HOAs like this. Some people are part of really good ones that actually look after the neighborhood and not as petty as we've seen in some of these stories. But, you know, we've had loads of them, from like complaining about the grass being a certain length to the fence being a certain color, Halloween decorations in the garden, too many Christmas lights, whatever. There's always a complaint about something that in regards to an HOA, and that's why I absolutely love it. Obviously, I feel very sorry for the person involved in it, but just the pettiness of it all is absolutely crazy. And you're not part of this HOA, and would you want to be the way they're acting already? Imagine if you did say yes that you'll be a part of it, you'll be conforming to their rules straight away, and they may be able to control you legally, maybe if you accepted over the email that you'll try to be a part of it. So why would you want to? Why would you want to go to extra expense for these people that are probably a pain in the ass to deal with? So definitely a not the arsehole to me, and I'd say don't get involved in that nonsense. But any scientist 7467 says not the arsehole, always refuse to engage. That way they can never claim that you agreed to be a part of it. Those fees are ridiculous. Guilty Pick says not the arsehole, you are not a part of them, and HOAs are ridiculous. Enjoy your house and continue to break their rules. They have no authority over you. Nit says, not the arsehole, keeping your property nice isn't the same thing as conforming to HOA standards. If you want to be a good neighbour to add value, you likely already do most of these things. Mow your lawn regularly, make sure your landscaping is cleaned up a few times a year. Clean up the front lawn area if there is anything your granddad left there, and paint the house once a decade. You don't have to follow their rules on how often to mow, what colour paint, etc. I'd send them a letter that you do not belong to the HOA, and further letters of violations will be considered harassment. Don't join them voluntarily. They sound like idiots and assholes. Siran says, not the arsehole. They don't get to come in and suddenly demand you play by new rules that you never agreed to in the first place. You should buy the tackiest, wackiest lawn decorations you can to deck out your lawn with. When they come to complain, double down and add more. I'm talking flocks of pink flamingos, holiday lights that would make Clark Griswold jealous. Oh, I love that film. The whole works. That's your property, and they have no right to dictate what you do with it. A little bit of waffle here because they mention Clark Griswold. That is my absolute favourite Christmas film, Christmas Vacation. That was my dad's favourite Christmas film, and I used to love sitting there watching it with him, especially the sled scene where they take off and it sparks flying everywhere. Oh man, absolutely amazing. Good memories from that comment there. Eduardo Khan says, not the arsehole. Even if your house is in complete disarray, you don't have to do jack. What kind of dumb logic is, hey, your property is next to the HOA property, so therefore it's in the HOA? What if I said, hey, your car is parked close to mine, so therefore your car is my car? I suggest keeping all of the letters they are sending as proof of harassment from an entity you don't belong to. And let's have one more from Emmett Weasel, who says, not the arsehole, and absolutely don't join this HOA. Their officers are absolutely toxic, and you've already witnessed their harassment and attacks, which they probably will continue if you keep acting like a pushover, and if you join, it will get worse. Go to a lawyer and get them to send a cease and desist letter that legally tells them to go F themselves. Document everything, record every interaction, save every voicemail, every email. Look into filing harassment charges against the HOA and its officers. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Neighbours2, titled, Am I the Arsehole for saying I won't go to my sister's wedding after she demanded a specific gift? My sister is getting married in December. About 3 weeks ago, she sent me and my husband a link to this gift she wanted us to buy for her. It was a very, very expensive and weird gift for a wedding. But she said this is what she wanted us to buy her. My husband responded that we appreciated the suggestion and would take it in mind when buying her a gift. She responded that no, it wasn't a suggestion, it was what she wanted us to buy. He told her it was very expensive and we might find something similar for them. She replied again with no, she wanted that. She then sent a further 3 links where we could purchase this item in the US, so we wouldn't be shopping overseas. I told her it wasn't going to be possible for us to buy it. She told us we need to show up with a gift and this is what she'll accept from us. There was more back and forth over the week that followed until ultimately I told her we would no longer attend the wedding if the gift was more important. She said fine, fuck me if I was going to let a gift stop me from showing up and supporting her and that I was a shitty sister. My parents can't believe we are no longer going. They said my sister is just being a brat and I should still show up and bring whatever gift we choose. Am I the arsehole? So I was really curious. I was thinking, what could this gift be? What was the weird and wonderful gift? All sorts was going through my head, really. And initially I was going like gym equipment, I don't know, a big new TV, an extension on the house. I don't know where I was going. I was trying to think weird gifts, but none of those are really weird, but they would be strange to ask at a wedding. But I found this comment who it said from Linny Pose, who says, info, what's the expensive and weird gift she's demanding? Not that it matters to the judgment, I'm just curious after all the mystery. You're not the arsehole. She can't just demand a gift that is very expensive. That's not how gifts work. Then OP replies saying, weird for a wedding at least, lol. It's a gaming PC that cost $4,900. What the hell? And that's what I just think, the entitlement of someone to like demand, because it's their wedding, demand a gift and say, look, this is what I want. Here's the link. Here's several links. $4,900, and you think that you're entitled to that much for a gift. You think you're entitled to anything as a gift. And I know we talk about enablement and a lot in this, but having your wedding doesn't mean you can be an arsehole and the parents saying they can't believe you're no longer going. They said my sister was just being a brat and you should still show up. Hell no. I'm not sure I'd quite cut them out of my life at this point, but I certainly wouldn't want much to do with someone who's that entitled to like money from me. So absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. But Bunky the Clown says, not the arsehole, skip the wedding or shirt with a toaster. Pokin says, not the arsehole, what the hell is wrong with your sister? It wouldn't be a gift, it would be extortion. She is seriously deranged. Screenshot the conversation because she will probably tell all kinds of lies about you when people ask why you are not attending. Or now petty me's getting ideas like going on to Gumtree and buying the oldest PC you can find, you know, with a floppy disk drive and everything, and wrapping it up so it looks like a gaming PC. Oh man, I'm such an arsehole. But Supergok says, not the arsehole. Seems like the gift is more important than you guys being there for a big day. Sorry she's that selfish. Does she have expensive itemized gifts for all members of your family? No policy says not the arsehole. Your sister stated that you need to show up with a particular gift and that's all she'd accept. Well, you cannot meet the requirements of your attendance at her wedding, thus you should not attend. Seems like a logical conclusion to me. Sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire. What kills me is that your parents can't believe you're no longer going and then say she's just being a brat about things. Just a bridezilla being a bridezilla. We just deal with it. And one more from Masterpiece OK, who said, not the arsehole, and your parents are weird. They acknowledge your daughter being a brat and still expect you to come. Even worse, they judge you for not going. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this one. What would you do in that situation? Would you still turn up with an alternate gift? Would you not go? How would you deal with it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from BiteMe789, titled, Would I be the arsehole if we told a friend's family he's in hospital against his wishes? That follows with a mini paragraph update as well. We have a friend in our small town who was friends with my husband's parents. He grew up with his family. He's in his 70s, lives alone, and is fiercely independent. His ex-wife and son live an hour away. His other son is in rehab. We are his closest contacts. He's over all the time, teaching my son about working on cars and even just watching TV if he's cold or lonely. So he's a real part of our family. We've been trying the last couple of years to get him to move to our place. We have 10 acres so he could sell his house, which is cold, drafty and falling apart, but it's on land that's worth millions, and build a new insulated warm home. He would be close if he needs help with anything, warm, comfortable, and would have enough money to be comfortable for the rest of his life. Well, it finally happened. He had a heart attack and called us from the hospital. We're in a COVID lockdown, so we can't even go and see him. We spoke to him today, and they tried a stent, but it failed. So he's having open heart surgery tomorrow. He's demanded that we don't tell his sons or ex-wife, and that he will tell them when he's out of hospital. He's always been on good terms with his ex, as are we. This is making both of us feel guilty. We just think they should know. Would we be arseholes if we told them anyway? I feel dreadful because before we spoke to him today, we went to his place to check on everything, and I said, God, I hope he never dies because removing all this shit would be a nightmare. Now he's having open heart surgery. As an aside, we're making plans for him to move with us while he recovers. We can't let him stay home alone. Now, this was a tough one for me because everyone has a right to keep their own medical information private, and I got absolutely nothing against that. But when I've told you guys a story in the past about my mum when she was ill, and she didn't tell anyone, but me and my brothers knew something was up. And I've been judged the arsehole in this situation before, so don't judge me again. I can't take it again. Not by everyone, by the way, but by a few people. And I accept that because, like in this story, everyone should be able to keep their own private information, you know. And when I confronted my mum, you know, I absolutely broke down and got the information out of her, which, you know, can be considered arsehole behavior. And then found out she had limited time in her life and all this kind of thing. And seeing as this gentleman's on good terms with his family, his ex-wife and his sons, and you don't know what's going to happen in this operation, and maybe the guy's just being stubborn, like my mum was very stubborn, and I'm going with an assumption there's nothing other than that, like he doesn't want to see him for any other like negative reason or whatever, just being like kind of stubborn with it because he's independent, then I will go for a super controversial not the arsehole, just because, you know, I've been down the road before basically, and I know that doesn't excuse it, but I'm gonna go with it. And again, I only say this because I know my mum, I know how stubborn she was, and in some ways, selfishly, I'm glad I got that information out of her because I was able to say goodbye rather than her just disappearing one day and not being able to talk to her. Yes, it's a selfish reason. I would happily accept being the arsehole for that. So again, not the arsehole from me. But Always Task says, Soft, you would be the arsehole. He has his reasons and he trusts you. Respect him. Striped Badger says, there's no easy answer, but I think that ultimately, yes, you're the arsehole. This is still his life and his medical information. It's still his choice of when or where to share it. If he is your friend, you should respect his choices. The fact that neither of you or I agree with his choice does not make this choice invalid. If you were close friends with his ex or son, it might be kind to softly let them know that now is a good time to catch up with him. But that really depends on if you have a relationship with them as well, which you can talk about without invalidating his wishes. JG700 said you would be the arsehole if you go against his wishes. Hope he recovers well. Bowman says, oh wow, this is a tough one. This seems like one of those things where either he will be hurt if you tell them, or they will be hurt if they don't know, particularly if the worst happens. I don't think you'll be the a-hole either way, but some people may be angry with whatever choice you make. Follow your heart, go with your gut, or whatever version of that you use. make the best choice you can, knowing there are no good choices. If you do tell them, make sure you tell him you did so. Don't make him find out from someone else. And one more from Love Being an Arsehole, who says, not the arsehole. It would be lovely to follow his wishes, but he's turned into a stubborn old coot. Tell the ex-wife. These are extenuating circumstances they need to know. Will he think you're an arsehole? Probably, but I find this one of those times where you have to take it and be an arsehole. And OP replies to that saying, stubborn old coot is a perfect assessment of him. Lol. And now we're going to read the mini paragraph update just to see what it says. And he says, he had a change of heart and told his family. They are hoping to go see him, but they have taken him to hospital across the border, COVID, and we don't know if they can get a permit. Fingers crossed they're all vaccinated. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Quebec Life 4040, titled, Am I the Arsehole for calling my son's wife disrespectful for bringing her own food to my Thanksgiving dinner? I'll preface this by saying that my 45 son Tim, 23, recently got married to his now wife Sarah, 22. We get along just fine as a family, though she tends to act passive-aggressively sometimes. She loves food and is always open to trying my cooking. She said my cooking was amazing, though she made a few negative comments about certain meals, and advised me to use XYZ ingredients next time. I invited them over for Thanksgiving yesterday. The whole family was there. The bell rang and I opened the door to see Tim and Sarah. Sarah was carrying what seemed to be a container. I didn't ask about it nor paid much attention to it. Everyone sat down to eat after I sat at the table and put dinner on it. My main dish was the traditional Thanksgiving dish every family in our community knows. I had appetizers and side dishes and of course salad and dessert. Sarah then put the container on the table and started unloading food onto her empty plate. Everyone was watching as my eyes widened up. I asked what she was doing and she said she brought her own food to eat since she won't eat what I cooked. I was stunned. I politely asked if there was a reason for that and she shook her head. I asked if she was vegan, she said no. I asked if she was allergic to anything at the table and she said no. I asked if she was having an upset stomach or anything, but she said no. I asked them why not eat what I cooked for them all day. She just smug smiled at me, which set me off. I told her that it was disrespectful of her to bring food to a Thanksgiving dinner that I was hosting. She started arguing that she gets to eat whatever she wants, whenever she wants. I said it's about basic respect and decency. Tim asked her to at least try some of the dishes I prepared, but she lashed out, telling him that him and I were being unbelievable by deciding what she should eat and forcing her to take it. I said it wasn't like that, but she got up and said she did not appreciate how I insulted her for simply not wanting to eat my food. She grabbed her stuff, excused herself and walked out. Tim quietly followed her and they left. I was so upset. Everyone was just staring. My husband said I should have just let it go and not comment on Sarah's food choice, but I couldn't help but feel disrespected in my own home. He said I made dinner awkward by focusing so much, honestly. Tim texted me this morning apologising but said I should talk to Sarah to clear the confusion. But I'm not sure if there was any confusion. She chose to bring food to my house after I cooked, especially for her and the others. I gotta be honest, I was kind of offended as well. I was picturing myself sat at that table and just watching someone with a Tupperware in the middle of the table where they put with all your food and start putting it onto their plate with no explanation whatsoever. Yeah, I think I would be offended in that case as well. And I don't think the smug smile certainly helped matters, but what's the reason? You said that she said your cooking was amazing, though she's made a few negative comments in the past. So what's the reason for bringing her food this time? And I think if I was didn't like someone's food that much, I would delicately try to approach the situation beforehand saying, could I bring this out and maybe you could put it on the table and then it'll look part of what you cooked or whatever, so it doesn't cause a scene or anything like that. But maybe that's going too far. But I do feel like, why? What's the information? Why? Why Sarah doing that? Because it doesn't sound like it would be malicious, although the smug smiles in there. But why? I really want to say not the arsehole, but my Columbo senses are tingling. I wonder what's going on. Kiwi Dylan, and I know I did a Spider-Man / Columbo reference there. Kiwi Dylan says, not the arsehole. I'd feel disrespected too. Wow. Angry Ex-Smoker says, info, what are you leaving out of the story? There's something missing. She didn't just randomly bring her own food. Edited to add, OP is never coming back to this post, is she? Edited again to add, you're the arsehole. Snazzy Susie Q says, not the arsehole. The smug smile said it all. You didn't take her cooking suggestions, so she decided to show up at Thanksgiving, and her plan to show you up blew up in her face. Don't apologize, she should apologize. Carter P. Fly says, info. What did you put on for Thanksgiving? You seem to purposely gloss over details. My main dish was the traditional Thanksgiving dish every family in our community knows. This bit of vagueness just adds to the, since she won't eat what I cooked, as does, Tim asked her to at least try some of the dishes I prepared. What did you cook? I'm guessing that this girl had every reason to bring her own food and only went because Mummy's boy made her go. And let's have one more from Green Whistle Wooster, who says, I'd love to hear Sarah's side of the story. I'm guessing she would write something like this since we see so many along these lines. My mother-in-law is constantly criticizing my food choices, saying I'm too fat. I've asked her to stop, but she keeps it up, so I brought my own healthy meal to Thanksgiving. Am I the arsehole? Or, I've told my mother-in-law dozens of times about my food allergies. She claims they are not real and tries to prove it by feeding me meals she claims are allergen-free. She doesn't see me go home and be sick for days, so she claims she's right. So I brought my own healthy meal to Thanksgiving and refused to engage with her about my allergies. Am I the arsehole? Or, my mother-in-law doesn't believe in safe food handling. She thinks food poisoning is just being picky. I've given up arguing with her about it, and so I brought my own healthy meal to Thanksgiving. Am I the arsehole? It may be as OP suggested that this came out of nowhere and Sarah's just being disrespectful, but I can't help wondering what's not being said. Interesting takes there, and a bit of a mixed bunch as well. What's the other side of the story? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Kitchen Vegetables 734, titled, Am I the arsehole for buying tampons without telling my wife? Hello, Am I the Arsehole Squad? 35 male here, and my wife is 32 female. I got myself into quite the situation. About 10 years ago, I used to have this really nice aquarium. It has since got defunct, and the tank/parts have been sitting in the garage at my parents' house for years. I recently had a thought of restarting my aquarium hobby, so I stopped by my parents' house to do a little inventory inspection. The tank was still in great shape, however, the filter was questionable. It looked like I hadn't done a great job cleaning it a long time ago. I brought the filter home to see if I could get it cleaned and working. The main problem was there was grime in the intake, which is just a long plastic tube with elbow joints. After a bit of thinking, I had the idea of trying to use a tampon to clean it, soak it in soapy water, pull it through the tube using the string a bunch of times. My wife doesn't need tampons because of her BC, so I couldn't steal one from her. I ended up just ordering some from Amazon. 2 days later, I gave it a try and it worked. The intake was nicely cleaned. This is when the problem began. My wife saw the tampon wrapper in the wastebasket of the room I was working in and immediately confronted me about it. To say she was pissed was an understatement. I would say I'm about 50 pounds heavier than my wife and I was still scared. Long story short, she thought I had another woman in the house while she was away. I explained to her that is not what it looks like. I recognise the cliche here, and that I bought the tampons for myself, which is also not what it looks like. I explained what I used them for, and I showed her the purchase in my Amazon app as my proof. My wife calmed down once everything was explained, but she was still mad at me. She said I should have just told her that I was going to buy the tampons preemptively for her awareness. Am I the arsehole here? Or am I the, not sure what there's, DA? Double arsehole? Maybe. Now, you're definitely not the arsehole in this situation. I don't think you preemptively have to go up to someone and say, I'm buying tampons just in case. I think if I was in the middle of a project and I needed something like that, for whatever reason, I wouldn't go and explain to my hypothetical partner, I'm just buying these just in case you're worried. But on the other hand as well, do you know, you can literally buy like, the bottle brushes on long bits of metal that you can purposely for cleaning pipes. Pipe cleaners. Love the thought process though, I gotta say. Serical Rises says, ha ha ha, honey, it's not what it looks like. I bought the tampons for myself. Then says, not the arsehole. I can understand why it would give her pause to question you. It was a misunderstanding. Hopefully this will make for a funny story for you and your wife to tell in the future. Pickles and Penises says, no one's an arsehole here, lol. This is a silly misunderstanding, but I totally understand where your wife is coming from. Yes, you should have told her, but I also understand your point of view that you were excited to try it out and restart your aquarium. No harm done here. Shadow Fox says, not the arsehole, dude. They literally make brushes for those intake tubes, so you might want to use those instead. 926DR says, not the arsehole. You offered an explanation and proof as to why you bought it. There's no reason you should have to preemptively warn her. Her reaction was justified until you explained everything and she remained mad. It should have ended with her accepting in your reason for buying them. Worry about you-ho says, not the arsehole. Why would she jump straight to that conclusion, getting mad or requiring a proof of purchase instead of just trusting and believing you? That's worrying. I think I kind of disagree with that one, but Ad Outrageous says, no one's an arsehole here. This is honestly kind of a funny situation and reminds me of something that would happen between me and my boyfriend. You aren't the arsehole for buying tampons to clean your tank filter, and assuming only you and your wife live in that house, I see why she would be concerned about tampon wrappers. And let's have one more from Not the Jury, who says, not the arsehole. Is there a reason your wife immediately went to cheating? Because my hubby having someone over who requires a tampon isn't that unheard of. We know many women who might use a tampon. Now, let us know your thoughts in the comments below on this one and your thoughts on all of today's stories if you choose to share them. Don't forget, over on our Discord right now, we've got a little Halloween competition going on. There's a Discord link in the description down below. Click on that, come get involved, post your entry, and who knows, you may win a prize. Once again, thank you for 20 to 30 minutes of your time with me today, getting involved in the channel. It means the absolute world, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love to you. I've been thinking that I can't let you go. Hey, can you wait a little while?